Hi, and welcome to the Social Angle, a podcast that helps promo pros gain an edge in the social media realm. I'm Vinnie, and on this episode, I am joined by Shane Shirley of Shane Shirley Media to discuss blogs. Are they still relevant? What are the benefits of having one? And should you add one to your marketing arsenal? All that coming up right now. Shane, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Vin. It's so good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. You and I met, I guess, a couple years ago at one of the ASI shows. I think it was ASI Show Orlando. I knew you because you had done some writing for ASI years ago, and so we got to talk. We became friends on social media, and I noticed that you had a lot of stuff going on with your website, including blogs, and we're going to be talking about blogs today. So tell me a little bit about the weather. You're down in Florida.
Yeah, it's not so awesome though at the moment.
Same here. Same here. What is it? It's rainy down there today.
It's been a little rainy. It's about 64 degrees, so it's a little chilly today for sure.
Well, I would take that. I mean, we have rain too up here in the Northeast. A little chillier than you in the 50s, but it's been very dreary up here. We haven't gotten any snow, but the sun hasn't been out, and it's like I need some sun here. These
I hear you.
long nights and short days and no sun. It's been kind of getting to me. But anyway, we are going to talk about blogging, which is something that has been around for quite a long time. But before we get into the conversation, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what connection you might have to the promo industry?
Sure. First of all, I'm super old. I graduated from Michigan State University with a Bachelor of Arts in Communications back in 1991 when the wheel was square, I think. And I graduated from there and hightailed it out of Michigan as fast as I possibly could. Came to Florida and opened up my first business. And then I got into trade show marketing. I did pharmaceutical sales. Got into marketing with the Florida Lottery. And then I got into having babies and I stayed home for a while. But in 2008, they told me that I had MS, Vin.
Mm.
So I went to a neurologist and he said, actually, the emergency room was wrong. You don't have MS. What have you been ingesting? Have you been drinking or eating something or putting something differently on your body than you have been? And I said, well, yeah, I've been drinking this certain drink and he said, that has an artificial sweetener in it. I want you to stop that.
Mm.
I have people that come in here all the time with your same symptoms. Once they stop, they feel better. So I went home, stopped, went back to the follow up appointment, felt so much better. And the neurologist looked at me and he said, okay, now you know what happened to yourself. What are you going to do about it? And I said, I'm going to start a blog and I'm going
Huh.
to tell as many people as I possibly can that you have to take care of yourself and you have to make sure that you're watching what you're putting into your body. I got very involved with the eco-friendly green movement. And people started asking me, how are you blogging? How can I do it? And I said, I'm going to incorporate and start a business. So December 2008, I started Shane Shirley Media, and we basically, if it's digital, we touch it. My team has built over 10,000 lead generating websites. We have a higher than industry average for click through rates on our ads for
Oh,
Google.
wow. Okay.
We do fractional CMO services. We do social selling, social media marketing. If it's digital, like I said, we do it if it's online. And as far as ASI goes, I love you guys. You know I love ASI.
Yeah. Yep.
I found you guys a long time ago when I was looking for content, and you do all your surveys and you have great data that I could pull from. So I utilized you guys for that. I've also worked with so many ASI distributors, helping them with social selling and marketing initiatives. And I think, you mentioned that I've written for you, but I think, your own data says it best in that if you give someone a promotional product, they're more willing to do business with you.
Sure. Sure.
So I think that pretty much says it all about ASI.
So you certainly have a lot of connection to this industry, not only with your blog, writing about marketing. You have Shane Shirley Media, also doing a lot of writing for uh, like freelance writing, for us as well. So I really wanted to talk to you about blogs. This is a topic that I've never really delved into on my podcast. And people ask me, well, are blogs really social media? Yes, it's a marketing tool, and I think that a lot of people use blogs on social media, because if blogs themselves aren't social media, I see blogs being used to promote their businesses on social media. So blogs are very, they've been around for a long time. I think I first started blogging, I think 2001 or 2002, when I was working for a company called penlive.com. And we started doing blogs back then.
Mhm.
So they're well over 20 years old. They went through a period where they were very, very popular, and then social media really kicked in, and people were now promoting themselves more, and promoting their content more directly on the actual platforms. So I have to ask you, because since you're more intimate with blogging, is blogging dead, or is it still relevant in 2023?
No way. Blogging is not dead. It is still very relevant in today's digital landscape. Obviously, mentioning social media, the way in which people consume and create their content is different. It's much smaller, bite sized pieces of
Hmm.
content rather than kind of long form blog posts. But blog posts are still exceedingly important because they increase visibility and credibility. They drive leads and sales for your business. And my one of my super favorite ones is they give you free organic traffic to your website. So there's absolutely no way that they're dead, Ben. No way.
So have you seen an increase in popularity recently? Have you seen the ebbs and flows of your own blog being popular? Like, how do you judge how blogs are doing in 2023?
I have so many prospects and clients that are coming to me saying, "What about blogging? We tried that before and it didn't really work out. Like, can we do that again? Like, what are your thoughts on blogging?" And I think it's because of the great SEO benefit for sure.
Okay, excellent. We'll get into that in a few minutes about SEO. Um, but what are the benefits of having a blog? I think you mentioned a few just a second ago. But if somebody has a blog, what can they expect? As in terms of the benefits.
So I have five that I have kind of jotted down to share with you today. I really think there's a lot more, but I'm just going to stick to five. Number one, building your personal or professional brand. A blog is a great way to establish yourself as a thought leader in your industry. Number two, showcasing your experience and your knowledge. Share that. Blogs are a great way to be educating and informing your readers and building trust and credibility. That's what matters. It's a way to build a relationship. This is one of my favorite ones. Number three is improving search engine visibility via SEO. And that's going to bring in that free organic traffic that I'm so in love with. Number four, connecting with your target audience, even on a deeper level than social media, by regularly publishing content that really connects with them, and you can foster a sense of engagement with them. And number five, another favorite of mine, generating leads and sales. People don't think about that when they think about a blog, but that's
Sure.
such a huge, huge part of it. A blog is a super great lead generation tool, especially if you remember to put in your calls to action or your CTAs and any lead generating magnets. You can get people to sign up for your emails and take specific actions, including buying your products and services.
Sure. So, Shane, let me ask you this. Couldn't social media alone, the platforms, do exactly what you're talking about without having to have a blog?
But why would we want to do that? Because you don't own social media.
It's a good point. It's a good point. I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm trying to, come up with the reasons why somebody would say, no, I don't want to have a blog. I have social media. I have, Facebook. I have LinkedIn. Why
Right.
would I want to add another level of complexity to my messaging? You're saying that when you have that blog itself, the blog then becomes an engine for driving traffic to your blog, to your website, to wherever you have it hosted.
Yes, and absolutely. I'll cover this a little bit later, but it's smart to share your blog posts to other platforms
Hmm.
like LinkedIn. Very smart. They have
So it's
a,
better to have a blog to share onto platforms than it is to actually use those platforms as,
your blog.
yeah. So you,
Absolutely, because I'm so bullish. Like right now, we're really telling our clients you must own. You have to own
right.
your website. You have to own, it's very, very important. You can't just rely on Facebook or LinkedIn because we don't know what's going to happen to those platforms. They
Sure.
change so much.
That's great. That's great advice. And I think that I've talked about that a lot on this show about how the changing platforms really affect a lot of what you're trying to do on those platforms. Your goals, for instance, if you're trying to, uh, get a lot of reach and engagement on your content, and all of a sudden the algorithm changes, then 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 it affects your goal in a way that you can't. y- There's nothing you could do. Like
Right,
then you're going to have to start paying for it. You're going to have to start paying for that reach and engagement, because, like you said, you don't own those platforms. The
right,
social media platforms own that, and they're going to
right.
change and rejigger it the way they want, so that they can make money off of it.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And, a lot of people think that it's a-okay to just build up their blog on LinkedIn, but like I said, you don't know what's going to happen later. So that's just not
right,
the best direction to go in. And right now, the algorithms you talk about are changing. They don't really favor a lot of link backs like to your
right.
website, but there's ways to get around that when you're sharing your blog content.
Can you share some examples?
Yeah, sure. So you could just ask somebody like, "Hey, drop a, question mark in the comments if you'd like the 5 reasons why you should blog," right?
Okay,
And then they drop that, and then you can send them directly, and it gives you a chance to connect with them on a deeper level. Send them a message, and you've already got the conversation started.
okay. That's a great tip. Never heard of that one. So let me ask you, Shane, if I'm somebody who is interested in setting up a blog but don't know where to start, how do I do it? How difficult is it? What are your recommendations for somebody who is looking to just set one up and kind of do it on, I'm not going to say the cheap, but they don't want to spend too much money on it. They just want to get it going and start creating content.
It's totally doable. It's absolutely doable. And I'm very bullish on blogs for business. And I think that more than the technical difficulty of setting up a blog, you really have to know that there's a certain level of commitment after you set up the blog, that you really have to be producing high quality content and actively promoting it to your target audience. Now, like I said, setting up the blog is relatively easy. You do have to have some minimal technical knowledge, but there are platforms out there like WordPress, which I'm really big on, and Blogger, that make it pretty easy to set up your blog and also to
Hmm.
kind of design it so that it will look good for you. And it can be very inexpensive. You can also host it there. But there's also, if you have a custom coded website, completely custom coded, there's also lots of website builders and CMS that allow you to create a blog section on your website, like
Sure.
Shopify or Magento. And that provides a really easy way to keep everything kind of under one umbrella. But I would say that overall, the technical side of setting up the blog is relatively easy, but you must remain committed
Right.
to creating that content
Yeah, we'll
consistent.
talk about that in a second about SEO and optimizing your blog. Um, but you said WordPress. You also mentioned Blogger. I've used both of them in the past. Um, years ago, I remember, because WordPress has been around a long time, as
Yeah.
has Blogger. There was some technical work that you had to do. It wasn't as easy as it is today. I will
Mhm.
say, I'm not in the know right now, but for something like WordPress, is it is it very, very easy friendly or user
Yes,
friendly?
it's so user friendly. That's the number one. Usually 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna recommend WordPress. And here's another hint, if you've got a website already set up for your business or for your personal brand, most likely it's on WordPress.
Hmm.
And you
Right.
probably have your blog like just
Sure.
sitting there, and all you have to do is
Eh,
just like
right. You
get
don't
it.
even know it's there. It's one of the features that, if your website is running on WordPress, then you have those blog capabilities you probably
Right.
aren't even aware of. So certainly look into that. If it's not built on WordPress, I think WordPress makes it very seamless and easy to integrate into most websites. So it's something that you can look into. And it's probably something you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
And if
don't
you
need
can't,
an IT department.
no, it's nice if you do have your IT department, or if you can call someone like me and say, please help. but you can definitely do it yourself. You really
Right.
can. I would suggest getting together with a friend or someone in my industry that can really help you if you don't
Hmm.
have the budget for it, because you definitely want to make sure that you're setting it up right. But if
Right.
you put in enough time and effort, you're going to be able to do it.
Again, we're talking to Shane Shirley of Shane Shirley Media. We're talking about blogs. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to post them. And we'll try to get to them. If not, we'll get to them after the conversation. Now, Shane, this is really a big part of why I wanted to talk to you. It's about how to do blogs and do them right, optimizing them for search engine optimization, making sure that they get found when people are searching. What are some best practices that you recommend for content? I know you mentioned creating content. Like, do you is there a regularity that in which you should post? Like, what are some of the tips that you have?
Yeah, so I knew you were going to ask me this question. I have 7 best practices, and that question that you just were talking about, posting frequency, if I had $1 for every time I was asked that question, I would be just set completely. Because people want to know, like, what does Google want? What do the search engines want? What do they want? And basically, what I can tell you is it's most important to establish a consistent posting schedule. So if you feel like you can post every day, 5 days a week, awesome. Because honestly, the more you can post, the better. But if you can only post once a week, great. If you feel like, you know what, I really feel like I could probably post once a month and that's going to be really good for me and that's fine, do it.
Mm,
Go for it. That's going to be just great. Just stay consistent with it
right.
and don't stop. Number 2, I think you really need to think about the quality, especially right now with a lot of the updates that Google has been doing. They care more about the quality of your content than the quantity. So I think it's important to definitely focus on creating high value information that's really going to engage your target market.
How
Number
do they
three,
know that it's high quality?
oh, they can tell. They have algorithms that check. And also, a lot of times people will try to stuff a whole bunch of
Right.
keywords into blog posts. They can tell. It's very, very simple for their crawlers to be able to see that.
Interesting. Okay, it's the secret sauce of the
It's
crawlers. You
they,
you don't
yeah.
know what they're actually looking for, but
No, no,
they
nobody
do, and
does.
that's
Right.
it's up to us to try to figure that out.
Right. People say that all the time. Like, I can sit here and give you what I can learn from all the data that I look at. But other than that, it's just basically, we're trying to guess at it from
Right.
looking
Right.
at a good guess from data, which I'll cover a little bit later. But optimizing for SEO is the third thing that I think is so important, because if you're not
Hmm.
optimizing for SEO, you're missing the whole boat on blogging. So optimize your blog posts for the search engines. And you can do this by putting those keywords naturally in your title. And here's a few really good hints, okay? So one thing that people miss a lot of times is they don't put what's called their alt tags. Look it up. It's
Right.
super easy
Right.
on
Right.
their images. You know this,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's such a huge thing to miss. That gives you so much search engine optimization power. So put those alt tags on those images. Make sure that you're also posting internally to other
Hmm.
blog posts
Hmm.
within your own blog. And then you know what else the search engines really, really love is if you are linking to high quality content. So
Okay.
make sure that you link out as
Sure.
well as internal linking. Now, I also mentioned a little bit about keywords, but topic and keywords. Identify your topics and keywords that are relevant to your target audience and your industry. And then what you want to do is you just want to keep creating content that aligns with those topics and keywords. And then again, optimize your blog post title, fill in your meta description, your headers, and your keywords to boost SEO.
That's great advice, and I know all about that. A lot of people don't. Alt tags in images are important. In fact, now I think it's uh, they're cracking down on making sure you do it for um,
The disability.
the Disability Act, because when blind people are reading blogs and they come across an image, they need to know what the image is. And if you don't have all text in there, you're going to get docked. So all
Yeah.
text is not only just great for SEO, but I think it's starting to become a requirement. And you're going to get docked if you don't have that all text in there.
Yeah. And be
Um,
honest about that alt text. Make sure that you're not
right.
trying to trick the the search engines, because that's black hat. We don't want to get involved with all that. You make sure that you tell a good description of what that image is. Don't try to get more keywords stuffed in there and all that stuff.
Right.
That's bad.
Right. So that's called keyword stuffing, and I think that one of those, it's pretty obvious when you're stuffing keywords into an article. The article doesn't sound natural. You're using the same keyword over and over and over, and it just doesn't sound natural. So your content should reference the keywords that you're looking. For instance, social media marketing or whatever, but it shouldn't be in every sentence.
No,
To me, I feel like you could just do a quick Google search on keyword stuffing,
yeah,
and you can understand what it is, and try not to do that. But I think those are some great tips. Of course, headlines. They're headlines. I remember about 5-10 years ago, headlines were very, very important in terms of making sure that you got the basics in your headline. Now, with metadata, and all alternative headlines, you can now add. You don't necessarily have to have a headline that is all keywords.
right,
You can use your metadata to make sure that all the keywords are included in there. Now, this is a little bit more advanced for people who are doing
right.
blogs for the first time. My recommendation to be honest is like, just write naturally, make sure your keywords are covered, and if you've got the blog in place, make sure you take advantage of things like metadata, and you can Google search that, and figure out how to do it.
Yeah, and WordPress makes it so easy.
Right.
WordPress,
Right.
and just call a friend. Call friends, and we'll help you out. And
Yeah,
WordPress
yeah. I
makes
mean,
it
look,
so
I always make the joke, like, you can figure out how to do anything through Google if you know how to use Google the right way.
right,
And also, when I try to preach about SEO and how uh, you can get your content found, I always tell people, when you're creating content, think about the ways that people are going to search for this piece of content. So if I'm writing something, I want to think like, the person who is the target audience for this, how would they search for this?
right.
And make sure that the way they're going to search for this is the way that you're creating the content. And I think that's going to help the discoverability. um and that's just the natural um inclination for SEO in my mind. Just
Na-
think like your users.
yes, absolutely. I mean, aside from all the technical stuff, when you're talking about your writing for SEO, natural, natural, natural. It's
Natural,
very
right?
important.
Right. So do you have any more advice for or best practices for SEO?
I would say definitely number one, you want to measure and analyze.
Hmm.
Don't forget about that. I'm big on data. I'm very big on looking at what's working, adjusting the sales, and changing things. So if you've got something like Google Analytics that you can utilize,
Hmm.
and it's free, it's very easy to, well, I won't say it's easy to use, but it's
Right, right.
relatively easy. Look at what content is really doing well for you, what the search engines are really loving that you're giving out. Look where you're getting your most traffic from. And then, continue to share on that platform, continue to give out that kind of content. See how long people are on your blog, different things like that in Google Analytics, super, super important. And I would also say that you definitely need to choose the right platform. And I think 9 times out of 10, like I said, I'm going to go with WordPress.
Hmm.
Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and I can help anybody with that. And then I would also say to use a reliable hosting provider, somebody that you can pick up the phone and talk to.
Right,
I
right.
think that's most important.
So who do you use as your host?
We offer our own hosting. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So you just pick up the phone and call yourself.
Well, not me. I have a team that works for me that
Okay.
does all that stuff for
Yeah.
us. But yeah,
No, that it is good to be able to get a hold of somebody. Now, look, you're gonna have to pay for that. I know hosting costs a little bit of money, but it's not that much. I know that um, up until a few years ago, we had blogs on ASI Central, and we were paying, like, minimal amount a month. Maybe it was a yearly fee. It was
it's
like
not
12
expensive.
bucks a year or 15 bucks a year, something,
You can
something.
do GoDaddy, you can do
Right.
HostGator. Those are two. I really love GoDaddy. I think they're wonderful. They have support. You can pick up the phone and they will talk with you. They will help you through it. Don't forget to pick up the phone.
Right.
If you get lost on something like this, call that hosting provider or call
Right.
a friend and they'll be able to help you. I cannot tell you just how much I urge people to really explore this platform because everyone is looking for an edge. And right now, blogging is going to offer you that competitive edge that other people have just dropped the ball on.
Right. Now you say pick up the phone. You and I think, are Gen X's. Gen
I'm
Y,
older than you, Ben. You're
and
just like a baby.
well, I'm up there. My tendency is to pick up the phone,
Yeah.
and Gen X and older pick up the phone. I always laugh about the generational differences in the usage of customer service. I've worked with millennials, Gen Z. I'm working with now, and their first preference is to go right to social media uh, and do customer service. But every business out there, I shouldn't say every, most businesses out there have social media, and they can be reached through whatever platforms that they have. So however you choose to have a hosting, you can reach them through the phone, through social media. It doesn't matter, through chats, and I'm sure they can help out.
Absolutely.
So now, those are the questions that I'm going to get into something that is more of an impromptu Q&A. This is something
Awesome.
something brand new for my blog, or not my blog, calling it my blog. I My podcast for 2023 is, I'm just going to ask you off the cuff questions that
Okay.
you don't know anything about,
Okay.
so that I can kind of, you know, force you to think on your feet and see what you got here.
All
So,
right, let's
my
go.
first question for you, Shane, is, what was your favorite subject in school and why?
My favorite subject in school, I'll talk about, I loved English. I mean, I
Hmm.
just, I
That
had,
doesn't surprise me. That doesn't.
and
You're a writer. You're somebody who likes to write. You're more
right.
like myself. I would say that English would have been mine as well. So tell me a little bit more about why
Then
English.
when I got into college at Michigan State, I really enjoyed my persuasion classes as well, because that helped with my writing, obviously, quite a bit. So the persuasion included with the English. English was almost was almost a minor for me. I did so many English classes, but I loved the reading and I do love to write and I love to understand the written word and
Yeah,
how that can be utilized to help people. And that's ultimately like what we're all trying to do
hmm,
here with our businesses is to help people. So
I'm the same way. I'm like a word nerd. I'm fascinated by words, and I like, the more I know, the better. And I don't try to be um,
don't
disingenuous in my.
pontificate.
Yeah, I try not to be disingenuous when I write. I don't want to
Right,
use big words, but I want to understand them and use them in the right context, and know who my
right,
audience is, and make sure that the right words appeal to them,
right.
because you don't want to have something lost in communication. But I'm the same way as you. I'm a journalist by trade, and English was my major when I first started school. So that doesn't surprise me. If you said math, I would
No,
have been
gosh, no.
I would have been a little shocked. I would have been
You
a little
know me,
shocked.
man. Yeah, pretty. You would have been really shocked.
People like us fear math. I fear it. I've always feared it.
Now you got me snorting. That's not good. Okay.
All right, my next question. What one song, artist, or album is an essential part of your life?
Oh, I like this song called Wildfire. Wildfire. She'll be singing, she'll be riding
Yeah, it was a
wildfire. That's
horse. Wildfire was a horse.
yeah, Wildfire was a horse.
And
Yeah.
that's a 70s song. That's a great song.
Yeah. My
Yeah,
parents set me up with good music. So that's always been a really, really important song to me. It just makes me feel so positive and so it just makes me feel so good.
I love it. I love that answer. All right. What's your favorite promo item and why?
We get one of my favorite promo items. Oh my gosh, I have so many. I love promo. But one of my favorites is, and it's kind of getting outdated, so I'm going to have to find a new one.
Hmm,
But I've always loved the webcam covers
okay.
because when people are on their computer, they're constantly looking at you. But
Yeah.
computers now kind of already come with that
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
thing. So my second favorite, I would probably have to say, I love pens. I know everybody talks about how, but they travel so far. And
Right.
everybody always, when you're using that pen, you always look down to see what it says. Always.
Always. Yeah.
So,
It's the only promo item that I know that people encourage theft. So it's like,
take
uh,
it.
it's like, yeah, take our pens,
Please.
because when you take
Right.
a pen, like if you're taking a pen out of a bank and you bring it over to somebody's house, or you bring it over and you leave it at a bar or something, and people pick it up, everyone
Exactly.
picks up pens and they steal them and they put them in their pocket or whatever. It's like, now there's your messaging, there's your brand.
Have you
It's
ever used anybody from a pen? I have, from a pen that I've just found someplace. I've actually called the people and utilized them.
I've
So,
never done that, but I do have my favorite pens that I use all the time. If a pen writes well and I like the way it
yeah,
feels, I will hold on to that pen for as long as the pen will write, and I will be constantly reminded of that brand. And
exactly.
that's why I think it's important to not use cheap pens. I'm not
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah,
I was just gonna be like, you have to. If your budget doesn't allow you to do a good pen, do something else.
right, right, I agree. All right. So I don't know how this question's going to land. I'm not, because I don't know you that well. So
Okay.
it's Friday the 13th,
It
and I'm a
is. I know that's freaking me out.
and I'm a huge horror fan. What's your favorite horror movie?
I, you know what? I would have to say the birds.
The Bird. That's a great one. That's a great one. That's a I saw that when I was really young, and it really messed with me because I
Right.
didn't expect like this black and white movie to be as freaky as it was, and it really was. It was, I see all these birds attacking people, and I'm like, "Oh my God, could that happen?" Like, and I think that was the fear. That was the fear that, oh, hey, it looks so real for a movie that was
Right.
made in the '60s, that
Right.
it could look and be as terrifying as it was.
It was. It was
Um,
birds, but it was like,
yeah,
I love that. I love that movie.
yeah, that's a great answer. All right, my final question: where can listeners find you online?
Just come to LinkedIn and connect with me. Come to LinkedIn, Shane Shirley on LinkedIn. I think I'm probably the only Shane Shirley there. Shane Shirley Marketing. You can find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome, awesome. Any final thoughts today, Shane?
No, I'm just so glad that you asked me to do this. It's so nice to chat with you and talk to you. And I, again, just blog. Like, if you
Yeah,
have any questions, please reach out to me because I cannot emphasize the benefits enough of blogging. And people really need to start getting back in the blogging habit because it's something that you own, it's yours, and you can use it in so many ways for marketing. It's just fantastic.
awesome. That was a great conversation, Shane. Thank you so much for being here today, and have a great weekend.
Thanks. You have a better one, Vin.
All right, for Shane, I'm Vinny. We'll see you next time on The Social Angle.